Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. I don't know, like it was at least 75 seconds. so, so you had that going on. Oh, Juliet, fantastic. We are ready for our next panel. This is going to be fun and is near and dear to my heart because it's like the one thing I can really relate to here. We have it's actually going to be a big panel. It's five of us. Not even including me. So I'm going to do my best to shut up, minus keeping track of time, and asking questions, hopefully engaging people. This next panel is on the recruiter and candidate perspective. I think it's cool that we have both up here at the same time since they're not always aligned. And I will tell you some of the questions, some of my perspectives and stuff like that are definitely harsh towards agency recruiters. It's because I am one. I find that most of them are not super great. The ones on this call are definitely not in that boat. But I was a super shitty recruiter for like 10 whole years. So like I'm really judgmental now. Like people who quit smoking cigarettes and then all of a sudden hate everybody who smokes cigarettes. That's me. So I'm going to give everybody 30 seconds to introduce themselves. Are we still waiting for Lisa, Allyson?
Yeah, she's here. She's in the audience. She's wondering how she can get on stage.
I actually think I have the power to make that happen.
You have the power? That would be great.
Hi.
Oh.
There she is. Yay.
Hey. I totally just did that with my mind. Excellent. Thanks. So I'm going to give everybody 30 seconds. I'm going to throw up a T when time is up. So make sure that we all have a chance to chat. And I will start with first name alphabetical. That's you, Allyson.
That's me, right. So Allyson Carter, I'm the VP of Talent Management at the Cara Group. My role there is to ensure that we have strong talent practices across the firm, and that includes our Cara employees, our consultants, so that they can achieve their full potential and deliver really innovative, human-centered solutions to our clients, which are mostly Fortune 500 clients. And before Cara, I led learning and development teams, big, small companies, spent a lot of time at McDonald's, and have been a job seeker. So I wear many hats.
Love it. Give us one quick fact about you. That's awesome. Personal. Go.
Personal?
Yeah.
I can tap dance. How about that?
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Coincidentally, everybody's lined up in alphabetical order for me. So James, you're up, buddy.
Yay, good afternoon or good evening, or I'm from the UK, so it's kind of nearly 9 o'clock here for me, so
wow.
It's getting late. So I am the managing director of a marketing agency called Think in Circles, and we work with recruitment agencies, everybody's favorite, right? But we hire as well. We've got a whole team, so I'm a hirer as well, but we've got a good spread across. So we work with the recruitment agencies, we work with the end client and the recruitment agencies, and we work with the candidates and applicants coming in. And time's up.
Quick personal question. What's your music you've been listening to lately? Give me one band.
Snarky Puppy.
I knew that you were going to have something obscure and amazing. I have to go look that up now. Okay, excellent. Juliet.
Hi.
You are up.
Also in the UK, so 9 o'clock here. I'm the founder and CEO of Any Good, which is a platform where professionals recommend other professionals for roles. So we do hire, but not like a traditional recruiter agency. We also help clients with employee referral programs and consult and train on that, basically trying to help leverage networks for everybody. And that's me. And now I'm worried about my question.
Oh yeah, it's happening. What's your favorite thing you've done during quarantine?
Live gigs. I love music, so live gigs.
Oh, like virtually or like in person irresponsibly?
Yeah.
Oh no, okay, responsibly. Okay, cool. I figured. Lisa, you are up.
Hi, everyone. I work with Allyson at the Cara Group. I'm the recruiting director, and I also act as a recruiter. And Cara provides expertise in custom learning, change management, and communications. What we do is we create transformative solutions that actually help our clients adapt and respond to the immediate and future workforce demands. And we have two customers at Cara, our clients and our consultants. And can I have the question that I want that I heard earlier?
Which one?
Music. So
Oh, yeah, hit me with that.
I was telling Elizabeth Lemke that I am a big 80s like hairband girl, and you wouldn't know it if you looked at me, but that's my style of music. So
You're right. That would not have been my first 7 guesses, but that is awesome. Learn new things every day. Michelle.
Last but not least. Hi, I think I'm the only like genuine job seeker on this panel.
Wow.
Except I'm not really anymore. I spent last summer as a job seeker. I was laid off from my job at Oracle, which I'd had for 7 years, in management, in HR and L&D. I'm currently at UPS, but with that said, I'm also looking to spin off into my own consultancy. So I'm kind of touching all points here, but hopefully I can help speak for all the job seekers based on what I was going through. And can I have a question based on like cocktails or wine or something?
Yeah. What alcoholic beverage have you drank most during quarantine? Not your favorite, the one you've drank the most.
Red wine of all types. See, I'm trying to get to, I'm a sommelier. Interesting fact about myself.
Like actual, like taking the test sommelier?
Yeah. So I keep joining wine clubs.
Oh, that's amazing. I can barely tell the difference between grape juice.
Another, just to see what's out there. Yeah.
That is amazing. Cool. Well, that was great, guys, and also super informative. I know who to send a White Snake t-shirt to. So, here's what I wanted to do. So for the audience, this is, again, your panel. You ask a question. It's going to the top of the queue, which for us North Americans means line. And otherwise, we have a few questions. I'm going to give everybody probably 2 minutes to answer them so we can keep everybody able to kind of participate. And so the first one is, I'm going to start with Michelle and go in reverse order now. And I want to start on a really positive note, because like we can all bitch and complain about finding a job or recruiters or hiring managers. But at the end of the day, like if you're at this event, it's because you're invested in developing your craft and becoming an even better person, and spending time to do that. So can we all share one positive experience that we've had with either a job seeker or with a recruiter? It doesn't have to be in the last month or 2 months, but just like in the more recent times. So Michelle, on to you.
Easy. Last year, there was a job I really wanted. Now, I didn't get it. It came down to me and one other person, but that didn't really matter in the end because I developed a relationship with the recruiter. She and I developed a great relationship via email and phone call as I was going for the initial job, and she scheduled all the job interviews coming up for it. I didn't end up at the position. She reached out to me and she gave me feedback. She let me know what to think. And then immediately when another position came up at the same company for a similar position, she reached out to me because we had a relationship. And so that was great. And I actually still keep in touch with her because you never know.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Anywhere. I don't need her to be at that company.
And good recruiters, like good agency recruiters, tend to be like really good. He is not patting my own back. They tend to be really good humans because like the job of an agency side recruiter is among the worst. Because when you're doing anything else, you typically have a stable thing and then a human that you're dealing with, right? Sales, services, whatever. Recruiters are dealing with an unstable human and like a moderately stable human as our product and clients. So like, that's so great. I'm glad to hear that. Lisa, give me a good one.
Sure. Actually, this was a recent experience. I met a job seeker who was able to describe her work experience flawlessly, like no other candidate I'd ever met. She gave the perfect amount of detail, describing a specific situation and laying out her tasks and the accomplishments that she did, not we, what she did on the project or in the role. And, you know, she was so thoughtful and articulate in communicating those experiences that, you know, and it's such a difficult, like, or maybe delicate balance to provide detail, yet not to sound verbose. So I definitely came away from that thinking that, you know, she is going to be the one that, you know, wins that next project. You know, it was great to see someone so self-assured, but not boastful. So she needs to teach that. It's amazing.
So you still have like 45 seconds on your answer, and that's a really cool one. I wanted to see, can you give any examples for like job seekers as to like, even if you can specifically, like where was that line for her? How did she do that so well?
Yeah, and I even asked her about that too. But I think what it comes down to is the STAR tactic, the STAR method of interviewing. You know, here's the situation, here's the task, here's the accomplishments, and the results. And you have to frame each of those opportunities when you're describing something so that the client or the employer sees you from start to beginning and what you've done. So
we're going to actually cover that in a little bit, but I love that was like the thing that stuck out for you. And I love when candidates do that because it's so easy to work with them. So that's awesome. Juliet, hit us with it.
So we have not just 2, but 3 people in our marketplace because we have members that recommend candidates as well. So just to add another one into the pot, it makes it nice and unstable. But a great example that we had was a client that just started to work with us. They were sort of at the end of their process of sharing the role externally. We're just about to accept a candidate that they weren't entirely happy with, but they needed to fill the role. And they just heard about us because we're quite new. And so they decided, well, we won't lose anything because it's free to post. So let's just see what they come up with. They probably won't find anybody. And one of our members thought about who they know and then recommended that candidate directly for the role. And the person that he actually recommended was somebody that was a passive candidate. They weren't thinking about moving. And they wouldn't actually have even thought about going for the role because they really underestimated themselves. And so really it took that member thinking about what's the potential of that person and I know what they're capable of to actually put them forward. And now they're really exceeding in that role. And so to really sort of pluck somebody out from something that they can do a good job and they're kind of happy in, but actually to really really help their career and move them forwards without them even thinking, they didn't even have to do anything with it. It gave me a great feeling.
That's awesome. People helping people.
Yeah.
Right? Like genuinely good humans.
Yes.
Amazing. James, with the amazing beard, you're up.
Thank you. So the marketing kind of has been hit pretty hard kind of during all this. And there's a lot of really good marketeers who, for no fault of their own, were doing really good jobs and have been either furloughed or made redundant. And being in that space, we decided to help as many of them as we could. So it's kind of, there's a couple of people that we coached and we kind of got them up and running and helped them to kind of boost their personal brand on LinkedIn. One of them was actually for a business that we were been trying to pitch to for years and years and years, and then she was made redundant, which was kind of gutting for everybody involved. And she went on to become a little bit of a LinkedIn superstar. She was producing these really great videos on her skill set, on her insight, not really necessarily anything about what she did or what she didn't do, but just basically just telling the world about what she was interested in, what she knew, even what she didn't know as well. And within a couple of weeks, she got herself a new role. And though my part in that was very small, it was a really good news story because there's a lot of good marketeers out there who have just been kind of they're first in and first out, basically, in this kind of case. So yes, so that was a really nice little story.
That's amazing. Love that. All right, and we saved the best for last. This one is huge. Allyson.
Oh, it is. Yeah, sorry, my cat wants to be part of this.
That's fine. Good job.
Better than my child.
Job seeker. Get it on here.
There we go. By the way, I know someone in marketing. We have a marketing position, so we'll talk later, James. Open. But one of the things, a friend of mine that I used to work with posted on her LinkedIn how she was paying it forward to people. And I don't know if you've seen this on LinkedIn. So I posted the same thing as well, just to say, how can I help people? Because I came from the hospitality industry originally, and I know I have a lot of friends that are losing their livelihood. And so I've been trying to help out a lot of people. But I actually have this note card here on my desk that I got from a job seeker. And I recommended actually her to interview with us at Cara. And I've trusted a lot of my friends to Lisa and our team. And she wrote me just this fabulous note about, thank you so much. It was a great experience. It helped me learn about myself. I love Kim, who's one of our recruiters. And I just, so shout out to Kim if you're in the audience here. It just made me feel so good because you want to trust your friends to good recruiters that they're going to have a good experience. And so I was glad that we had that opportunity to provide her with that. And I think we gave her good feedback too. So while she was qualified for us, she said, I really learned what I need to learn. And I was glad to hear that as well. So meaning that we were honest with each other. So Lisa, thanks to you and your team.
That's awesome. Okay, now we're going to flip the tables and we're going to keep the same order for answering. So I want this to not be a dig. This is not a dig. The goal of this is constructively to kind of air some stuff that we can continue talking about or generate some other questions. Or we already have 5 questions. Okay, I'm going to pause on that. We're going to go right into this. Cool. So I assume I'm going to open this up to recruiters, but honestly, any of you can answer. What are other top intangibles you look for in a candidate?
I'm going to take that on.
Yeah.
I think it's the skills that you have that are beyond the functional skills, the softer skills, like, being able to adapt to change, being able to have good organizational skills, good business acumen, strategic agility. These are some of the things that, and some of these things are more senior level, like strategic agility, you're going to, be a more senior level person to have that. But as you gain those skills, that is what I think is what keeps you in the job. Like your functional skills are kind of like the price of admission. It's all those other skills that are going to keep you going and going and growing your career.
I have another one I was going to add. This came up the other day. We were talking today. It's your digital presence. It's a bit of an intangible, right? You could show up with the greatest resume. We could be excited about talking to you, and then, you're not ready to be on camera, or we know that you're going to be working with our client. And we joked about how somebody had a pile of papers behind them. It was like a Jenga board, and they were redoing the room behind them. And it's almost, they didn't realize it. And so, skills today are also, look at how you there's a working mom down the street from me. She has 4 kids trying to do homeschool. And she's like, my house is a mess. She just hung sheets behind all of them. But I think having some digital literacy today and being able to adapt and show that you have those skills as well. And I'm not going to even ask you a question about that. I'm going to observe it. So just being aware of your presence. So, but knowing that sometimes your cat may bomb your video, and that's okay.
Which is awesome.
We're all human.
My dog just opened my door, so I
locked mine out.
You're smarter than I am for sure. All right. And then on that note, follow-up question. And I'd love to hear, Michelle, from you in particular on this, as well as any of the recruiters. We'll start with you, Michelle. How does a candidate effectively communicate soft skills on a resume?
If I knew that, it wouldn't have taken me so long to find a job. I will say that I've made changes just in the last 3 or 4 weeks, wanting to redirect my career into more live online events. I've redirected it, and happy to say that I unintentionally followed all of your advice from earlier, Mike. I was already doing it. So I've repeated a lot of things, but I've made it very clear that I lead teams, and here is my leadership skills. I'm a transparent leadership, honest leadership. And I try and use words like that will maybe elicit how I feel I lead, having been a manager for so many years. And I'm hoping that's how I can communicate my soft skills. You guys tell me, actually.
Yeah, interested. Yeah, James.
Interestingly, you mentioned how do you get that across on your resume? Well, don't rely on the resume. There are other places that you can kind of get this out there. This kind of reliance on this kind of piece of paper or Word document is, we're moving away from that. So feeding on from what kind of Allyson said about kind of you know, your online presence, that's a really good place to kind of get that stuff out there. Now, you've got to be obviously quite confident if you can do it on video and stuff like that, or if you've got, but you know, that's probably one of the better places to do that, because any recruiter knows that it's not just if you're doing search and selection, it's the resume, then there's what they're like on LinkedIn, what they're like elsewhere. You do all the kind of other kind of checkup. So it's spreading the net a little bit further, and kind of what you can't get down on paper, you know, show somewhere else.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yep.
Awesome.
I think even just, you know, we always look at someone's LinkedIn, right? Or your online presence as a recruiter. And do you have somebody that's given you a recommendation that talks about, you know, Michelle was the best boss ever, and here's the things that she did, right? So those things make a difference. I don't know how you guys are doing reference checking. It's been a conversation we've had internally for a long time, and that could be a whole other session. But, you know, what are people saying about you? I think it's more than your resume. And I know we look at it that way. I wouldn't judge somebody on their piece of paper alone.
Yeah, I think that's the power of referrals, right, Juliet?
Yeah, I mean, we have the benefit of, thank you. We have the benefit of, I guess our candidates are pre-qualified in that they're proactively recommended. We don't have anybody that asks for a recommendation. It's all our members think about who they know and then put them forward if they'd like to be. And it isn't just sort of share it on social media and have people apply for roles. So it's a very proactive activity, which normally then it also comes with a written recommendation from the person that's putting them forward. So that tends to be everything over and above the CV that they know about them, and specific to the role that they're going for. So it really does help to bring somebody's personality to life, which I think is so hard for people, especially if, you know, from a digital presence perspective, they might not be the kind of person that is comfortable with video or just generally with you know, speaking publicly or airing their views and things like that. You know, it does tend to the reliance on searching for people on, you know, Googling them or looking at them on LinkedIn and seeing how active they are does tend to steer us towards a certain type of personality rather than others. And so we do need to be a bit careful that we're not assuming certain things within that assessment as well.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. You mean there's more than just a resume to define who we are as humans? It's the reason I like asking the random on the shot questions. One of the ladies I hired, I asked on the spot first interview, I said, tell me the weirdest fact about you, go. She's like, my arm span is longer than my body. I was like, that's amazing. Sorry, Julia, if you're in here, I just like threw that out. Like, I went and like measured my arm span. I was like, yeah, that's weird. Okay. So guys, we're going to go back now to the thing I was saying before. This is going to be for conversation. This is not a dig, right? They're great recruiters. They're bad recruiters. They're great job seekers. They're bad job seekers. Sorry, not bad, less optimal. So I'm going to start with Michelle again on this one. Can you share an experience you had with a recruiter that didn't live up to your expectations, but not, again, this is not a dig. As a job seeker, we want to know if you could give them advice, what would that be? And don't say, don't be a shitty human. Like that's obvious.
Well, you know, my experience with interviewing, and even last year, pre-pandemic, most of it was done until like the very final interview. Most of it was done like this, over Zoom or over WebEx. So this is not new. But what I would discover is that with recruiters, they always just wanted to talk to me on the phone. But I'd never know ahead of time if it was a video or a phone call. So that was a surprise because, you know, I may not want to be so dressed up that day. But beyond that, it's like I would always want feedback from the recruiters, and I never got it. And then sometimes there's just absolute ghosting. And I know everyone on this screen is you guys are incredibly awesome, friendly, nice recruiters. But a lot of the ones I've worked with, they just drop you and you follow up and you follow up and you follow up and nothing, just silence.
So without getting down, because again, I don't want to take it down the crappy things they do. What would have been your preference in that case, so any recruiters here can hear it? Assuming, by the way, the reason they didn't respond to you is they either had no updates, you were passed on for the role, or just like super overwhelmed because their company is putting like an insane amount of pressure on them? What advice would you have given them in any of those scenarios?
A quick email, just one, sorry, we didn't get it. I'll keep you in mind for future things. Yeah, I'm not going to be happy, but you know what? At least I know I can. Most job seekers, we've all got these giant spreadsheets. Just check it off the spreadsheet. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's not like it's still out there. I wonder. And two, sometimes, you know, an auto-generated email. Sorry, it's filled, but there's still closure there. If it's a role where, and of course, I was interviewing for more senior management roles and things, fewer people interviewing for those roles. For me, it was, I would have liked feedback on what I did right and wrong. In one case, I had a great conversation with one of the hiring managers about the Muppets. I thought we hit it off phenomenally, and I was really surprised when I didn't get the job. I actually put a Muppet, and so I thought we hit it off great. I was very surprised. She gave, now this is Mary Beth that I talked about earlier. She gave me feedback on some things. Most recruiters in those cases did not give me feedback when I thought I hit it off. So just let me know, hey, here's what the other person's qualifications were that you didn't have, you know, so look at improving this on your resume. Or, you know, here's what you're missing. Here's what we didn't think would work with you in our culture. I don't care what it is. Just give me the feedback so I can make those changes and adjustments for the next time.
I love it. And yes, so ghosting is definitely something that we hear, and the lack of feedback. Now, I'm going to stand up for recruiters on this one, which is there's unfortunately a tenuous connection between feedback and legality in what we do, and that if we give feedback to a candidate, we can now be sued for some type of discrimination.
Okay, vague
or something. No, I listen, I want to deliver it as well. But it's very difficult when you run into things of like communication skills don't line up, or, you know, they would butt heads with X and Y and Z, of being able to share honest feedback and like feel safe as a recruiter that like, cool, we're totally not going to get sued for saying that to that person right now. So Lisa, on that, talk to me about, and maybe it doesn't have to be even bad, but an example of like an underwhelming experience, and then the tactical advice that you would give that candidate, and or maybe you actually did give that candidate.
Sure. Is it okay if I piggyback off of what Michelle just said, though?
Heck yeah, it is.
You know, I think, and what she's saying is really important. And there are some times that you're worried that you can't give feedback, but I will always ask the question, may I share some feedback with you? When you ask, then you can receive. And by the way, with some of our customers, sometimes they don't give us feedback. So then I don't have feedback to share, but I'm going to let the candidate know that I don't have any feedback to share. But I think also where a client does give you feedback, it is their perception. Their perception is reality. And it's just, we're sharing that, and we're hoping that we can make some changes, some adaptations to how we respond as candidates. But to go on the question that you just asked, is I've had multiple experiences where a job seeker cannot recall particulars around the specific work that they've done that's in their resume that they are sharing with you. Okay, and this happens way more than one time. So if you are going to interview with someone, you need to know what you did, and don't pull the resume from me to look at what you did. You need to, you know, it's tongue in cheek, but that's really, really important. And to go even further on that is for us, know what you did, be able to show a portfolio of your breadth of work, and make sure that the relevant work samples, they're really well organized, easy to find. I've had a candidate where they were, you know, trying to like figure out where all the work samples were. That you have to have them organized. You look like you're well put together. That's really important. And really be engaged and talk about your experience. Be excited about the interview, and hopefully it's just a really good dialogue between two people that are, you know, are trying to make a connection. I think that's really important, you know. And also, if you're interested in the job, let them know that you're interested in the job. Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's so much more, but I was just giving some top ones. So, and also one more thing I'm going to add. It is your interview too, candidate. So ask all the questions that you need in order for you to make a good decision. You know, and I think it's also to say to that employer, what does success look like in this role that I'm interviewing for today? Then you get a really good picture of what you're going to be doing should you get that role. Oh, yeah. I'm off my soapbox. Somebody else can go.
Hey, I always asked about 30 days, 60 days, and a year for expectations, amongst other things. I came in with a whole pre-list of questions. But.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh-oh, we can't hear you, Mike.
Mike, you're...
Yeah, it's because I'm muted on my board over here like an idiot.
There you go.
Juliet.
We probably had so many good things to say. We missed it.
It's brilliant. I didn't hear it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the reason why I launched the platform was because, not because I was a recruiter before or had any experience in recruitment, was because that I was frustrated with the process. I was a hiring manager for many years, and just thought that there needs to be a better way for this to work. And so some of my experiences, and we actually did some research, independent research off the back of it, around trust in recruitment, which then drove various debates and roundtable events. And some of the things that came up there, other than fake jobs, which is just horrific in the current times. But one of the things that I asked a question of in a panel there was around when a job goes out to a recruitment agency, do they automatically look not just for the 80% of candidates, but also look for diverse candidates? Do they look in different places, different networks, ask different types of people? And it really surprised me, and I don't know, maybe it shouldn't have, but things still surprise me, that unless the HR person asks or the internal recruiter asks for a diverse candidate, they won't look for one. And I just thought that, you know, if your responsibility is to get the right kind of candidates and the best candidates, then you should be looking across all pools and not just the one that you've been gathering maybe for the last 20 years. And so just some of those things where I've, you know, it's an industry that I'm new to, so I don't have many years of experience in it, but, you know, kind of uncovering these things as you ask more questions, it seems, some of it seems madness to me. So yeah, that's where I am.
Awesome. James, what do you got?
So honesty on both sides is always helpful. And explaining the process. So many recruiters that we work with don't explain the process that the candidate is going to go through. And they may, I mean, in most cases, recruitment is a fairly simple process, but it does alter from industry to industry and from business to business. And so this is the one we think when recruiters we work with is, you know, be really open, you know, chart this out, have something you can explain, even visually show the candidates who are coming in that this is the process you go through. You know, where is there automation in the process? You know, are you going to be phone called by a robot for your interview? You know, are you if you don't make it through, are you going to get an a templated email? You know, how does it work? You know, so everyone everyone's expectations are mitigated right from the start. They know what's going to go on. Even as far as like, we think we're going to probably get, you know, 50 candidates apply for this. So it is generally going to be difficult for us to get back to you individually. So it's probably going to be a template email if you don't make it through to the next stage. Sorry, but you know, we are just that shit. We're just that busy. So that's, I think, is always a nice way. And you just kind of get a process. And this works on both sides. You know, with a recruiter, you do that for the client as well. You tell the client the process is going to go through as well. So it works on both sides. But from a candidate perspective, yeah, I want to know what's going to happen all along the journey, no matter how long it takes, but I know the steps that's going to go through.
Beautiful. And Allyson?
You know, I was watching some of the comments here about these fake jobs, and I saw someone respond of, you know, sometimes, especially with firms, they're proactively looking to fill openings that they're anticipating. But I think is knowing that sometimes, especially when you're working with recruiting firms, they're building a talent pipeline, they're building a talent community. So I think looking for a job in a corporation versus looking for a consulting type of role, like at some of our firms, there's similarities and differences. And so knowing the process, I think, James, I agree with you. Like when I was hiring at McDonald's, I remember a couple of years before I left, we hired tons of IDs, and I see some folks in the audience, I think they were part of this with me. And I remember, you know, the intake process and going through with we had an external recruiter helping us, and we had a different process than we'd ever use, right? And I don't know, now that I think about it, I probably have some apology letters to write to people that we didn't explain the process to, that we might not have gotten back to, because I don't know if we knew it internally well enough. But I do think that's a good one and you can ask, tell me what this process is going to look like. Help me understand. And if you're applying for jobs at firms like ours or other firms, do you have an actual opportunity that you're going to be presenting me to? Am I becoming part of a talent community? That's what we do in our firm, is we create talent communities so that when we have opportunities, we go to our community, and they're people that we've already qualified and given feedback to and provide them development opportunities. But really understanding the jobs out there, and the jobs in L&D are changing so fast. I think we talked about this as we prep too, are you being hired by people who understand L&D, or are you being hired by the business? I've gone through both myself as a candidate, and it's a totally different experience when you're being interviewed by a chief learning officer or a director of L&D versus an operations person.
Yes.
And so you have to adapt to that as well and know who you're talking to in the interview process. So I think that's another key to this whole thing in job seeking, is you got to know who the decision maker is, because often it's not the recruiter.
Awesome. Yeah, very rarely is it the recruiter. Okay, last, we are just about out of time, but I want to end with one more rapid fire because you guys are industry thought leaders, and we don't normally get people together on one panel for this. So this is going to be a lightning round. 20 seconds to answer the question. I know, and we're going to start with Allyson this time. I know, it's brutal.
Brutal.
And the question is, where do you see the future of recruitment and job seeking? 20 seconds. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to think about it. 10 seconds to think, and then we can go.
It was okay. So I'm going to be self-serving to the L&D cares community, but I think with the movement like this that we're starting, and I know, we're having 400 people come to this event, it's going to be better networking within the L&D community, more relationships. I think that's where it's going to come from. I think while automation may help, I think it's going to be making a community smaller so that we can help each other. So,
boom, James.
So yeah, I fall on the side of technology, but I kind of would. But so agreeing completely with Allyson. But I think there's a kind of technology enabler that's going to that move that forward. Not necessarily automation, but the things like talent pooling, pipelining are kind of getting really, really much more sophisticated. The ability to kind of communicate with those people within that pipeline and that pool will just become more and more personalized, much more and more fluid, much more and more kind of transparent, much more human. And I think that's the way that we're kind of going to end up.
Good timing. You had 1 second. All right, Juliet.
I think the pendulum towards technology has swung, and it may go a little bit further, but I would like it to swing back, and I hope it swings back a little bit to make it more human, and for us to understand where we need to put our trust in technology and our trust in humans, and have that balance in the right way so that we can have a better outcome ultimately.
Boom. Lisa.
Yeah, I think the technology is great. Mobile apps, chatbots, different platforms that people are using to find opportunities, but the human touch is never going to, go away. And I think the opportunity for employer branding and your reputation, as well as the candidate's reputation, their branding as well, and referrals. I mean, referrals have been, such a huge part of getting people to work together. I mean, sorry, I got nervous at the time, and I don't want to.
I know. It's trying to go slow. Finish. It was awesome. Michelle, go for it.
Okay. Oh gosh, time. I've always hated the term, and I've been very involved in this in the past, human capital transformation, because I don't really like to think of myself as capital. I'm human. And so while I love technology, and I see that through digital communities like we've created here, and LinkedIn and other useful technologies, we can really help the job search and the job seeker, but I worry about things swinging too far on the technology. Keep playing that music. I'm going to keep talking. Keep swinging the pendulum on the technology side, because I don't want things like HireVue, and I don't want things like AI to really take over the hiring process, when I think we all need to be working as a team and really talk to each other as humans. Love it.
Yeah, that's to close that out, because I love the point that you made. For recruiters, guys, technologies do a job, not your job, right? Hammers don't build houses. Carpenters use hammers to build houses. So
there we go.
Yes. Okay, guys, thank you so much for everybody who's interested. Everybody's LinkedIn URL is up in the chat. I want to thank all of you for taking the time out and joining us and dealing with my random Spitfire questions. That you all did great. Yes.
I am interviewing. We have a webinar every Wednesday, or Wednesday-ish, on L&D Cares Conversations is what it's called. You can find the information on LinkedIn. And next Wednesday, we'll be continuing this conversation with Allyson. So please join us for that webinar on Zoom.
Awesome.
Amazing. Y'all, thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you too. Thank you all.
Everyone.
If you guys click the cam on and mic on, you will vacate the stage with grace and poise.